family to train the children to become spiritually mature. This is a huge problem. Parents want the youth pastor to disciple their kids, you know, and it's like, no, that doesn't work. You know, parents, we have the responsibility to train and disciple our own kids. In an average month, fewer than 1 out of every 10 church families worships together outside of a church service. Just as few pray together, other than at meal times, and the same minimal number study the Bible together at home or work to address the needs of disadvantaged people in the community. So families, most Christian families, fewer than 1 out of 10, they're not worshiping together, they're not praying together, they're not studying the Bible together. So even we just want the church to do it all. Right. And we're not doing it. You know, we have to get back into the mindset that as parents, we have to be the priests to our family. I mean, that we are the ones that have the responsibility to train and disciple our own kids. And the church can support us in that, but the responsibility is ours. You know, yeah.
And like, I felt that very before. You're like they didn't notice, like, people in my community, like, when I was coming out as an early Christian, like, they were like, that's so good, you going to church, yeah? Could just get a hold of my son, or you be in the church, and then you got those mothers, a lot of single mothers, like, yeah, you should get contact with my son, and things like that. But then God began to deal with me, like, God, like, I can't be taking everybody's son. Right. Because God, you would have provided a way. Like, God, you haven't called me this. This ain't what you called me to do. God, how do I address this? Yeah. And so God would teach me, you know, little things to where, hey, how have you tried doing this with him? You know, because that is your child. I didn't birth that child. Right. I'm not that child's father. Right. And nor can I be. Yeah. Yes, I can be an adequate reflection of what a young man of Christ should be. Yeah. You know, I can be that example when he is around. I can share tips and things like that. And show, you know, the little nuggets here and there. But what are you doing? Nobody can do what parents do. Yeah. That's right. Right. Yeah.
Two things that I'm thinking. One is like that. The girl that led me to the Lord, her house was very like peaceful, and that was so different from my house where there was petty arguments all the time, and like that was, and so it was a family thing that just God lived in her house. Yeah. Yes. And then the other thing was that for me to have a relationship with my family, to like walk out the faith that God gave me, I had to sit down and like set some rules about the way that like in particularly like me and my mom who fought a lot, like the way that she needs to interact with me, or the way that we need to interact with each other, and like if we can't do this, I need to get my needs met elsewhere, right? And like lay that out. So now it's like I'm working with youth. It's like I want to be encouraging them to sit down and have mature conversations with their parents and learn how to state their needs.
Right. Oh man, that is so awesome. That is so awesome, because and that's where it turns to.
It's hard, but
it is.
It's
and like
fruitful.
It's very fruitful. And like many times, like me and we had these conversations so many times, like about ways that we can't interact with our parents and honoring them in an honorable way. You know. And
but one thing I noticed growing up, that you know, if it wasn't for people like Ron, I wouldn't be here right now. Yeah. You know, I could talk to my mom about certain issues, but there's certain things that, you know, especially being a guy, that you have to talk to a guy about if your pops ain't around. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know, like I could talk to Ron, I could talk to Elwood, and be like, yo, I'm going through this right now. Is this normal? You know, I'm going through this. It's like, I can't talk to moms about it, you know what I'm saying, because this is a guy issue, you know. So I wouldn't say that, you know, us as parents are putting, you know, it's as a bad thing, because there's some things that if there isn't a father in the home, you know what I'm saying, having a brother like you or Evan or myself, they can be like, yo, well, this is going on. I'm having these thoughts in my head about this girl that I go to school with. I can't talk to my moms about it because she's like, oh, well, you can't do this, or I can't talk to this other person because, oh, it says in the Bible, if you do it like this, you can't, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get struck down, you know. And it's up to us to be like, that's not a good mindset to have, but I appreciate you and I thank you for coming to me with it. You know what I'm saying? Just because you have that thought doesn't mean God's gonna be like, oh, There goes little Johnny. So let's go see what Chris is doing over here. You know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of kids get that misconception and get drove away from the church. Cause like if I do one bad thing, I'm out. You know, some people in the church fail to give them that mercy, preach the mercy and the love of Christ. That okay, yeah, you messed up, but as long as you admit, okay, Lord, I messed up. Please forgive me. I'm repenting, turning away from what I used to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all about you. You know.
Focus.
Yeah. And see, what we're going to be looking at today, and just kind of jumping ahead a little bit, is that discipleship of individuals has to come from the family and the church and the community. That the church can't make disciples of people if everything is messed up in their family and everything is messed up in their community. The church alone can't combat all these evil forces that are waging war against our young people. And so, in a sense, that we as the church, we have to focus on bringing about transformation in the families, bringing about transformation in our communities, so that all of these things are working together to really to disciple and to create character in our young people. Yeah, Ron.
I hope that this is an aha moment for some of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because one of the things, and I've had, a number of aha moments in my life where just a time like this totally changes the direction. And I had one of these where I was sitting in a seminar and a guy was talking about intergenerational ministry. And intergenerational ministry works. And then I started thinking about what I do, and I said, well, that's what I do. I just never knew how to call it. Is that we can't just minister to our kids. We have to bring in adults also. Sometimes the family is not there, but they need adults.
Mm-hmm.
And the family can be a family of adults. So we need to include adults in our youth ministry. And then we need to figure out how we can plug them into the community. There's a community that comes back and helps. So I think, Dave, that what you're beginning here will be a anchor of our conversation as we grow together over the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I always state that this is not a year program. It's a health club for your ministry. And when I'm in an athletic club and I finish my first year, I say, there, I'm healthy, now I quit.
So the point is that I think a lot of times, the church, our vision is very narrow, and we're trying to do it all by ourselves. But we don't realize that, if I've got a kid coming to my church and he lives in a single parent family and his mom's on drugs half the time and, it's just a chaotic, abusive environment, everything I do for that kid in church really isn't going to make much of a difference if his family life is totally in chaos, Or even if you go to church and you have a good family, if, the school environment is your teachers are telling you a bunch of lies and the kids at school are, negative pressure and negative peer pressure on you and people are, dealing drugs in the streets and you can't get a job. And I mean, all of those things are going to wage war against the individual young person. And so really our vision for discipling young people has to be comprehensive. It has to be about, if I'm going to really make a difference in the lives of one person, I've got to focus on the family. And maybe, as Ron said, maybe there's just not a family there at all, and I need to be that family for them. Or maybe there is a family there, and I need to work on discipling that family. And then, as I'm also working with families, I need to start thinking about my community. I mean, I went down to Ron's house, and we were just talking about, North Minneapolis, is that there's not a lot of jobs just in the neighborhood. I mean, there's not a lot of businesses going on. And so it's like, we've got to start thinking about how to change neighborhoods and how to really transform communities, transform schools, and transform the business environment and create a healthy community where young people can really grow and thrive and prosper. And so rather than just kind of focusing on that it all has to happen through the church, we really got to broaden out our vision and try to do all of these things at the same time. And I think one of the last verse in the Old Testament says, I'm sending you the prophet Elijah. He will restore the hearts of the fathers to the children, the hearts of the children to their fathers. And I find that, that father relationship is the most important, I think it's the most important relationship in this life.